All right. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session where we're going to learn more about dementia. And before we get started, since this session is open to both our guest users and Silver Talkies members, I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about Silver Talkies. So, Silver Talkies is a social impact organization. Our vision is to build a society where older adults can age gracefully. We believe age is just a number, and we provide our members with exciting opportunities to learn, interact, and engage. We curate very interesting. We curate a very interesting calendar each month, and every calendar is very different from the previous month. So our members always have the opportunity to learn something new. Apart from that, we do have a lot of meetups, and every month we started this No Agenda meetup in our six city chapters, which are Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, and of course Bangalore. Apart from this, we also provide volunteer opportunity where we've tied up with Maya Care. So in case our members do need a volunteer, we are able to help them with that. Apart from that, we have our own digital magazine, and our members are welcome to write for our magazine. We also offer our members, a special discounted rate because, we tie up with a lot of partners. So like today we've tied up with Ivory, and all our Silver Talkies members, receive the opportunity to avail these services at a discounted rate. And I'm just going to introduce you to our expert for today. And her name is Mino. I hope I've pronounced that right. So Mino holds a master's in psychology from the Indian Institute of Psychology and Research. She brings extensive experience in neurodegeneration, genetic influences, and cognitive aspects of major mental illnesses from her tenure at Niemann's. And currently, she leverages her expertise as a neuro counselor at Ivy, providing specialized counseling and support tailored to these areas of specialization. So I'm just going to hand it over to you now, and you can take it forward. And just before
So what we'll be doing today in this session is basically knowing about dementia, understanding, what different types of dementia are, and, the common myth of is Alzheimer's and dementia the same or is it different? And we'll also be looking at what the modifiable risk factors are and, recommendations for those at risk. We'll also be touching upon some of the research work as well. And we'll be looking at how early detection can help in dementia. And towards the end, we'll also be looking at what Ivory has to offer for you guys, right? So before we get into the session, I have a small activity. I'm going to display 5 different words one at a time. I want you all to put it in the chat box. The first thing that comes into your mind when you see this word, okay? There is no right or wrong answers. Nobody is going to judge you. It has to be a gut reaction. So as soon as I put the word on screen, I want you all to type the word that first comes into your mind. Okay, the first word is sun. Warm, okay. Positivity, heat, light, yellow. Brightness, light, yes. Okay, I'm going to the second word. Sorry, tree. Shade. Grounded, okay, nice. Going to the third word, ocean. Freedom, that's a nice one. Book. Depth, okay. Knowledge. And the last one, flower. Beauty. Colors, beauty, fragrance, happiness, laughter. Right, lovely. Right. So basically playing word games like this help you think quickly and, connect ideas better. It also kind of helps, recall your memories and, especially for people with memory issues. And also these kind of games help you keep your language sharp. It encourages active thinking, which is great for our overall brain health, right? So now that we have, I know that all of you have participated in this and everybody, we've had like a warm-up activity. Let's get into the session. Right. So, why is dementia a huge global problem? So, dementia is among humanity's top 5 causes of mortality with no accessible detection tools to cure. So, basically, it's a progressive degeneration of the brain. And at this point in time, we do not have any cure, which means we don't have any medications to reverse the condition or even stop it at the moment. However, the medications that are currently available are helpful in slowing down this progression, but not completely reversing the condition. So, one of the most important awareness which we would like to spread is basically differentiating dementia from normal aging, because a lot of people think forgetting in normal age is, it's a part of aging, but there's a fine line between the early stages of forgetting and something that is pathological, that's actually dementia. So usually in the preclinical stages, people might see some changes, and when they get to the clinic to get checked, they might be at the MCI stage, or so this is when they have some mild difficulties in memory. They might forget things here and there, and this is the phase where they're not very sure if it's really pathological or if it's part of normal aging. So dementia dementia is a general term for impaired ability to remember, think, or make decisions that interfere with doing everyday activities. So, like you see, there are many types of dementia. So, Alzheimer's dementia being the most common one, and there are other types of dementia like vascular dementia, dementia with Lewy bodies, mixed dementia, frontotemporal dementia, Parkinson's dementia, and other kinds of dementia. So a lot of times, people with Parkinson's can degenerate to dementia. So, but basically, dementia is an umbrella term. And since Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia, we tend to think of memory problems associated with dementia because memory deficits are the most common ones that is seen in people with Alzheimer's disease. However, memory problems are not the only symptoms that we would see for somebody with dementia. So the person can have problem with visual perception. They can notice change in mood, behavior, personality, withdrawal from the activities which they like to indulge on a regular basis, disorientation, that's confusion with place and time, difficulties in planning and thinking, difficulties in communication. They might forget the language, word finding difficulties, difficulty in completing familiar tasks. So maybe if they're taking a route which on a regular basis, they might, sometimes forget that, daily activities like maybe buttoning a shirt or, tying a sari, these can get impaired. So basically, these are all the signs and symptoms of dementia. So basically what happens in dementia is the brain is shrinking, right? And it's shrinking at a much faster pace. So when the brain shrinks as a part of normal aging as well. So it's in our 30s that the process of aging starts. So your brain starts to deteriorate. However, in dementia, it's happening at a much faster pace. Right. So we have our, guest speaker, Dr. Prem Narasimhan. He's a geriatric medicine doctor. And he says that he quotes, you should not have fear of discovery of any disease. You should actually have the confidence of preserving your health. So knowledge is power. And if you find this earlier, then it's much easier to work on the symptoms or, delaying the process. So if you look at this, these are MRI scans. So as you know, for a diagnosis of dementia, we basically, one of the tests that is recommended is an MRI scan. So on the top row, if you see, it's scan of a healthy brain. And on the bottom row, you see is basically of somebody with Alzheimer's. So you can see in the bottom row as to how there are more darker spaces. So basically, this means that the brain is shrunk. And on top, you see that the darker spaces is less, which means that the brain is more full and there's no shrinkage. So we discussed previously that there's no cure, for reversing the rapid cognitive degeneration. However, there are techniques which can be identified to slow the progression or, rather reduce the risk of getting dementia. And now how can we arrive at this? By understanding the risk factors that causes dementia. So basically risk factors are, characteristics, conditions or behaviors that increase the likelihood of developing dementia. Basically, we have divided these risk factors into two categories, non-modifiable and modifiable category. So if you sort of just see the gray area, things like gender, age, race, ethnicity, genetic factors, these are factors that we can't quite change and it's fixed. However, the green area, that is high BP, smoking, diabetes, sleep, depression, physical activity, high cholesterol, cardiovascular diseases, these are the things that play a big role in our lives, and they are factors that we can actually manage and work on so that we can reduce our risk of getting dementia. Right. So if we sort of look at the left side, that's a healthy brain. And if we look at the right side, that's a brain with Alzheimer's. So things like having a poor diet, that's a lot of processed food, sugar or oily food, definitely not something, that's going to do good for us in the long run. Living a sedentary life, not moving around, no exercises, poor sleep, chronic stress, and not enough cognitive stimulation. So you're just sitting and watching TV all day or on the phone, loneliness. That's something, especially we've realized, post-COVID, that this is something which can affect the way dementia manifests, so it's quite important to be socially active and stay engaged with people. So what can we do to reduce the risk of getting dementia? So in terms of food, we have berries, oysters, nuts, eggs, green tea, dark chocolate, fish, whole grains, cabbage. Basically what we recommend is to have a Mediterranean diet. It emphasizes plant-based foods and healthy fats. This is what we would recommend. Also, in the Indian context, we have amla, walnuts, drumsticks. So basically, these are, supposed to be foods with high antioxidants, which are good for our brain. So along with the diet, what we also need to keep in our mind is, to keep our brain mentally active and sharp. So some of the activities that we usually suggest is, reading, learning a new language, listening to music, involving in a lot of puzzles, word games, learning new skills. So basically, incorporating a lot of work, exercises to, cognitively stimulate your brain. So as I mentioned earlier, it is also very important to be socially engaged. So there's a lot of cognitive stimulation happening while conversing with someone, because when you're interacting, you're engaging your language because you're talking to them. You're engaging your memory because you have to reconnect to what you previously spoke to them, trying to think what the conversation was about, sometimes thinking if it is something which you can talk it out loud, is something which you have to keep quiet about. So basically, you're activating the whole brain. So here are some of the activities that you can do. Probably join a club. Yeah, like I think the best example is here at Silver Talkies, and where you share things, you talk to people. So basically, our clinical advisor Jwala Narayan, she's a neuropsychologist based out of Bangalore, and she always recommends her clients, especially if it's their children who's getting the parents, to practice what you preach. Because if we want our parents to take their brain health seriously, we must lead the way of healthy aging ourselves. So it's not something which you can tell somebody and ask them to practice it immediately. It's a way of life. All of us have to inculcate that slowly. So one of the most important things that also contribute to brain health is physical health. So if you're physically active, it really helps create new neurons and neuroplasticity, and also release neurotransmitters, helping in improving brain function. Also, if you can do it in a group, it can be more fun, enjoyable, and motivating. Right. So there's a lot of research that, sort of led us to believe that we have these risk factors that we can modify and reduce our risks of getting dementia. So there's one of the study that was done actually in the 1980s was this research study studying nuns of a convent. So basically what they looked at is they followed them through, looked at their lifestyle. They also made them keep journals. So they were looking at these journals, looking how they lived their lives. So in our current time, we have a lot more diagnostic tools for detection of Alzheimer's, but a confirmed diagnosis is usually only at autopsy. That is, after a person dies, they look at their brain tissues and then they find if they have Alzheimer's or not. So they did these tests with the nuns, and then what they found out was their early education, their lifestyle, that's their disciplined life, the purpose they had in their lives, and how they followed a routine, doing a lot of community work. So these factors seem to keep the dementia symptoms at bay, because some of them still had these Alzheimer's pathology after they died in their brain, but they never showed any symptoms while they were, alive. So this was a very promising study, and it has contributed a lot in understanding dementia. So what we realize is that cognitive reserve is something very important, and we also know that a lot of research studies shows that being bilingual tend to have more cognitive reserve. So if you're bilingual, then you can actually put getting dementia by a few years than somebody who's monolingual. So when we talk about cognitive reserve, it's about education, being bilingual. It's all about the skills that you inculcate. So from this, what I would like to say is that if you're somebody who is working, 24/7, then it's time for you to also take a step back and, balance your work and life and get in more activities so that you can give your brain that cognitive reserve. So there's one more research study. Basically, this is an intervention study. The finger study divided older adults into two groups to see how lifestyle changes can affect brain health. So basically in this study, one group received regular health advice, and while the other followed a program including, monitoring of nutrition, exercise, cognitive training, social activities, and vascular risk monitoring. So over 2 years, what they saw was the group following the comprehensive lifestyle program showed significant improvements in memory and cognitive function compared to the group that only received health advice. So again, this highlights the importance of holistic approach to maintaining brain health. So I'm going to take a small break and ask everybody to participate in this. So I have a question for you guys. Which word is not written in the color it names? There are 4 options.
Blue.
I want you to put the answer in the chat box.
Okay.
Which word is not written in the color it names? Yes, a lot of them are getting the right answers. Mentioned there's a lot of research. This is even though it can seem like something which is a logical way of leading your life, to follow all of these. But there's a lot of research to show that these interventions can help reduce the risk of dementia. So basically, multimodal interventions combining diet, physical activity, cognitive training, and health monitoring showed significant promise in reducing risk of dementia. Now, can we do anything, about getting dementia, or how can early detection help? And why are we looking at detecting dementia early? So early detection of early detection of Alzheimer's can profoundly impact the management and progression of the disease, offering significant advantages for patients and their families in terms of medical care, emotional support, planning for the future. So basically, a lot of times, someone can look like they have dementia, but you have a lot of these reversible conditions which can be due to some, imbalance in the blood level. So it can look like dementia, but it's not. And there are some conditions which can be treatable. So why would we want to intervene early is that so that we can treat the condition if it's not dementia. So you just can't write off any memory problem, that pops up 60 plus. It can't be written off as dementia. So we have a neuroscientist, Ramani Sundaram, who says that hope and resilience can coexist with cognitive decline. With proper care and support, it's possible to retain the lifestyle of people with dementia. Understood that early detection is important. We'll get into some more clarity as to when should we take action. So early signs of dementia can include frequent forgetfulness. Again, here the important word being frequent, misplacing items, confusion in time, place, person, noticeable shifts in moods, getting really angry or agitated, difficulty following conversations, not able to comprehend what people are saying, challenges completing regular routine activities. So here the main aspect that we have to think about is it affecting our daily living? So, if you're a working professional, has somebody got it up, at work? Has somebody told anything at home? Has people noticed anything different? That is what we are supposed to be looking at. In terms of recommendations for people at risk, so we have a lot of medical treatments. So basically, it's very important for us to get checked and treated for the right conditions, and for that you need to go to the right doctors. So basically, if it is something in terms of the symptoms which we spoke, we usually ask people to go to a neurologist or a psychiatrist, and then followed by a neuropsychologist. So that's how that's the first person to approach. And if you have difficulties with your mobilities, or if you're depressed or anxious, it's very important you get the right therapies. So psychotherapy or physical therapy, cognitive stimulation therapy, especially if you're somebody who does not involve in a lot of, activities. So also looking at things like adjusting your lifestyle, so that has to be a diet. And if you're not doing enough mental exercise, then you have to start looking at, different aspects that can make the right changes. Also, try and improve the social interaction and, include more cognitively stimulating activities. Right. So lastly, about Ivory's cognitive health check. So basically, this checkup offers an analysis of your cognitive health. It identifies potential dementia risks and details modifiable risks in a clear, actionable report. So we have a couple of steps in this cognitive health check. We have a cognitive assessment. Basically, it takes around 30 to 45 minutes time. And then we have a health and lifestyle profiling. And if you're somebody who has not done a blood diagnostic check recently, we also help you with that. followed by a counselor consultation here. That's where I come into place. So basically, I just chat with you and get a little more information about you guys, so that we can put everything in context. And then we provide you with a detailed cognitive health report, which would include recommendations as to how we have to proceed. So these are some of the testimonials from the people who have used our service. And I think there's something exciting, which is already mentioned in the start of the webinar, that, since we've tied up with Silver Talkies, the members would have an offer which we would give. To have some resources for you guys, so that if you want to reach out to and read more about dementia and get to know, also feel free to reach out to us in case you have any questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Nino, for this wonderful, informative presentation that you have shared. And I think we'll start taking questions right now. With the first one, where we had a question from Ramesh. How do we differentiate this from normal forgetfulness, which happens when we are multitasking?
Mr. Ramesh, to answer your question, it's a very good question, and I think it's one of the common question or a doubt which everybody would have. So basically, like you said, like you pointed it out well, this forgetfulness can happen due to multitasking, a lot of information overload basically. But what we concentrate or what we ask our client in detail is, how often does this happen, or do you feel something similar happening to your other aspects of memory? So do you forget brushing your teeth, or do you forget if you've had breakfast, you don't remember? When somebody asks you a question, you're not able to respond well. So these are the things which we ask as add-on questions to see the intensity and the frequency of the forgetfulness. And then if we feel that it's happening very frequent in other phases of life as well, and that's when we get into further details, and if we have to do a neuropsychological evaluation where we get a complete profile. That's how it goes. Mr. Rajiv Desai has asked, do you recommend brain scans for 40 plus? Is that part of Ivory checkup panel? So we do not have brain scans per se, but we do a blood diagnostic check, and anybody above the age of 40 can enroll in the Ivory cognitive health check. Basically, it's a lot of cognitive tests which you will have to go through. So
that Silver Talkies has partnered with Ivory, and all the Silver Talkies members get a flat 800 rupees off on the checkup. And all you need to do is log on to the Silver Talkies app. If you're an Android user, click on Explore Services. You will see the Ivory offer listed. And all you need to do is click on the offer and claim the offer. The other thing is the discount is available only if you use the Ivory offer through the Silver Talkies app. If you directly go to their platform, you will not get this discounted rate.
I
And for
understand.
the iOS, yes, and for the iOS users, this you can check the Ivory offer in the offers and deals section, and you just need to click the visit website option, and it will redirect you to the Ivory page.
I would, of course, understand that they are present in all the metros like Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta,
Yes.
Madras, and so forth. Okay.
So I will give you a list of, so they are currently operating in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Chennai, Pune, and Ahmedabad.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think Mabel has asked this question, MRI test of brain. Is there any other test? So basically, I think it's a MRI, which would be the first one with the neurologist would suggest, based on the level of degeneration. There are different kinds of MRIs which will be done. So that's how it goes. Miss Kanchana Arni has a question. You can ask.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to ask you, so if there is an incidence of dementia in the family, would you recommend an APOE or a gene or DNA genome test?
What we would actually say is not everybody who has a family history would have, would be passed on with dementia or Alzheimer's or any sort of cognitive degeneration. What I would say is for somebody who does not have any family history also has chances, however, increased lesser chances than with somebody who has a family history of dementia. But if you have a heavy loaded family and if you are interested to know, more about this and, probably interested in research activities, because that's where it's headed out mostly to. There are some tests. I think in NIMHANS recently they have one new research which has come out, which is but again it's only for patients who is diagnosed with this condition. It does not include healthy control as of now. So that is something which can be looked at. I'm pretty sure that outside there are more options, but I think in India is NIMHANS has that option as of now, but only for people who are already diagnosed with the condition dementia.
Yeah, I have third question is, if someone has been detected with Parkinson's, what is the chance or possibility that it would eventually lead to Alzheimer's dementia?
So, so basically what happens in Parkinson's is, your brain is shrinking and, so it affects different parts of the brain. So mainly, even though it is, the motor coordination, eventually it, it affects the whole brain and different parts. So memory and, the speech, etc. So eventually it falls into that category.
Okay, so just last question is about supplementation, about MCT oil in particular, and also omega-3. Is it something?
Omega-3 is something we would suggest for, especially if you're a vegetarian, or basically for all the vegetarians, just to be sure that the, vitamin D, all of the levels are in track. I'm not sure about the other oil which you mentioned. I might not be the right person to talk about that.
And B12 is also one of the things, right? They say deficiency in B12.
B12, vitamin D, keep your sugar levels, sugar, kidney,
Because
liver
it's also
levels,
referred to as type 3 diabetes. Dementia is referred to as type 3 diabetes. So continue. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Ramesh said, I've seen videos of brain yoga where you hold ears and squat. Does this work? I'm not sure if, that I don't know if that has any scientific base to it, but so basically we, recommend yoga so that it has some sort of relaxation to your body, and it follows a rhythm to calm your body, and in terms of meditation and in terms of that. So I'm not sure if this particular thing which you asked, sir, is has any scientific scientifically proved for dementia.
I have a question. Just as among males, we have to do the PSA test once in 6 months, every 6 months preferably. The cognitive assessment test you spoke about has what kind of a lifetime? Is it that one does that every 6 months also? Or a year, once a year?
Yeah. So basically, for anybody above 40, we would suggest you do it once for starters. And then depending on the level of, if there's any cognitive degeneration first, and, the other lifestyle changes if needed. See, if you're basically somebody who's able to do all of your chores, your daily activities, your work, you're able to function without any issues, then you wouldn't have to repeat it for probably another year or two, unless you have any symptoms coming up. That is what I would say. So,
or if one has undergone a very significant lifestyle change, like the death of a spouse or something like that, Is that a trigger?
That can affect the memory and the forgetfulness and basically the whole functioning. So that's why it's important to keep an eye on to see if this is worsening. If it is, then you have to redo the test. If not, it's something most people can recover from. It goes like that. So if it is something concerning, then you might have to take it up, get a test done and see. Yes. What is the source of omega-3? So basically, for non-vegetarians, we would say fish or seafood, and for vegetarians, there's nuts and leaves and chia seeds, walnuts. These are the sources. Next question: what is the most important aspect of prevention of Alzheimer's? So, like I mentioned in the PPT, once you're diagnosed, I don't think there's going back. That's why we press upon the proactiveness of importance of being proactive to maintain our cognitive health. So all what I've said is basically so that this can be put into a lifestyle, and we have to indulge in a healthy lifestyle so that we can put away any sort of cognitive degeneration. Right? But unfortunately, once it's diagnosed, there's no going back. And that is also where the early detection helps. So as soon as we get diagnosed or understand the condition, we can take that much, input and put in that much physical exercise or whatever, medications, and all of that can work much better if it's, diagnosed much earlier. Okay, next question. I think Lakshmi Raman has asked, my mother's 91, is living with dementia from 5 years. When I visit, we sing together. When family gather, we chat with her. She's mentally more stimulated. She's even able to figure out time. But I suppose it's a back and forth process. Yeah, so I think you're doing it in the right, you're going in the right track, ma'am. So this is what we would suggest for people to do. So sometimes they can be irritated, or, they might not be willing to, understand us or engage with us, but take it as their mood, is. So if they are in the mood to do stuff, then we would suggest you add in activities. Also, it is important to have some sort of change also. So if you have a couple of activities arranged for them, so if you have sort of, organize their day. So you wake up in the morning, do this, do that. So for people with dementia, that is what we suggest, to have an organized day or follow the same timetable, because they react well to that, because they know what has to be done next. So there's no confusions. So that is what we would suggest. Can injuries and falls impact the progression of dementia? Falls, I think sometimes it can, but again, I'm sorry, I'm not the right person to answer the question. But for somebody with dementia, it's easier to have a fall. So it's always, important for them to have, like, a gripped floor, or you have any mats or something, especially if it's a wet floor. It's always important to have a good grip, because it can, the mobility or the gait, the way they walk can get affected. So it's always important to make sure they have a good grip. Anybody's, parents or anybody diagnosed with such situation would like to share their caregiver experience?
Of course, I was a caregiver to my mother for about 18 months. And the days were very, very traumatic sometimes, because she would, in the morning, sometimes say, have you had your breakfast? And seem very lucid. And around 4 hours later, she would say, what is your name? So it used to be very traumatic as a caregiver. It was a roller coaster ride, which was not enjoyable at all. It was a very lonely journey. As a caregiver, I used to feel very sad for her.
So what we also
Because
have
one's
is
dignity gets stripped.
support groups. where caregivers can come in and, because a lot of people don't know there's no information as to how you have to handle a patient,
Very
so
true.
lot of support help groups, that is what would, empower the caregivers and know that they're not alone in this.
Minod, there's one question if you want to take that. Do low sodium levels cause brain fog?
Oh, yes. So, imbalance in sodium levels can have some sort of, symptoms that mimic dementia. That is possible. So that is why it's important to, have a quarterly or a, half yearly blood routine done, so that especially, so that's where I mentioned about the reversible conditions. So just because you're mimicking the symptoms does not necessarily mean that you have dementia. So the first step would be to get all of the blood, diagnostic, and then see if something can be reversible. And that's how we go forward from that.
Lack of vitamin D leads to depression and then dementia. Is that what I'm seeing among people I know?
Right. So depression can be a risk factor for dementia, but I don't think that's the only reason for somebody to for it to progress to dementia. It can be one of the risk factors. So like I said before, this is categorized under the modifiable risk factor. So if you know somebody who is depressed, or is somebody who is diagnosed with depression, then I would ask for them to, get that treated as soon as possible, and, get into therapy or medication, whatever suits for them at that situation.
You also spoke about vitamin B12. How does that lead to a risk factor?
No, so basically all of these imbalances in the blood can mimic symptoms like dementia. Vitamin D, B12, these can cause some sort of mimic the symptoms of dementia, which is not basically dementia. So we have to keep these blood levels in check.
Yeah, I've realized sometimes when you have spondylitis, kind of vertigo kind of situation, that also mimics brain fog.
Mm-hmm. So basically, even if it is, even apart, if you're not diagnosed with that also, anybody, even in their 20s can have something, brain fog. This has to do a lot with the lifestyle and, the kind of stressors they are going through at that point of time. And, probably there's a lot of information overload, or they are involved in a lot of multitasking, probably a stressful job, or there's situations at home which is causing them a lot of stress. So all of these can also have memory. It can show memory issues, forgetfulness, but again, these are temporary. Or if we work on what is happening and why it is caused, we can work on that. It does not have to go to in the way of dementia. I think
One thing that
Meera has asked, should one go for omega-3 supplements? Again, it would be best to consult with your GP. Just check your blood levels first, and if there is, significant low levels, then I think they would suggest for you to go with supplements.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Team Ivory, and thank you so much, Meenu, for conducting such an amazing session and a very informative session. And we would like to inform all the Silver Talkies members that there is a special discount for you if you want to avail this checkup. All you need to do is go to the Silver Talkies app and claim this offer in the offers and deals section. And if you have any other queries, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much again, Team Ivory. Thank you so much, Meenu. And